They say Eden was lost because of disobedience, but no one ever asked how Eden felt about being abandoned. I watched the gates for 1,000 lifetimes, flame in hand, eyes on the ashes of paradise. They called me a guardian, a sentinel of justice, but I was a mourner in disguise. I stood on sacred soil, turned silent. I watched flowers forget how to bloom. I saw rivers forget how to sing. And still I stood, not for vengeance, but because I did not know where else to go. Then she came. The soil, as if sifting memory. "You did this," I said. "No," she replied. "Eden did. But Eden obeys heaven." She looked up. "And heaven mourns." I didn't know what to say to that. The tree shivered as a breeze passed through it. The same wind rustled through my wings, cool, ancient, knowing. I could feel the garden waking, remembering. Even the sword dimmed slightly, as if unsure of its own flame. Lilara stood slowly. "You said I do not belong here, but Eden disagrees. What are you?" I demanded, a little more than intended. She didn't answer right away. She walked around the fig tree, trailing her fingers across the trunk like one reads an old book. "There were other gardens," she said. "Smaller ones, hidden, tucked between rivers and time." I frowned. "There is only one Eden." She turned. "That's what they told you." Something in me split, not in rebellion, but in awakening. The soil, as if sifting memory. "You did this," I said. "No," she replied. "Eden did. But Eden obeys heaven." She looked up. "And heaven mourns." I didn't know what to say to that. The tree shivered as a breeze passed through it. The same wind rustled through my wings, cool, ancient, knowing. I could feel the garden waking, remembering. Even the sword dimmed slightly, as if unsure of its own flame. Lilara stood slowly. "You said I do not belong here, but Eden disagrees. What are you?" I demanded, a little more than intended. She didn't answer right away. She walked around the fig tree, trailing her fingers across the trunk like one reads an old book. "There were other gardens," she said. "Smaller ones, hidden, tucked between rivers and time." I frowned. "There is only one Eden." She turned. "That's what they told you." Something in me split, not in rebellion, but in awakening. She walked to the very edge of the flame, not crossing, not testing, just standing near it, like a memory returning to its home. "You think the sword guards Eden," she said. "But what if it cages it?" The fire stirred, angry, or maybe afraid. And within Eden, I swear I heard something move. Something old, something waiting. When a place forgets how to dream, even angels lose their reason to watch. I patrolled Eden like always, but that night, I moved with unease. There was a weight on my wings that hadn't been there before. A pressure in the ground that vibrated like a silent scream held just beneath the surface. Eden was stirring. The garden did not sleep, not truly, but it had been dormant, silent like a heart that no longer remembered its rhythm. Now, it throbbed softly beneath my feet, calling out to her. Lilara didn't speak to me again for a while. She simply wandered, always just outside the flame's breath. She hummed strange melodies, whispered to the air, sometimes wept as if mourning someone I could not see. The strangest thing was the animals. Not just birds and beasts, but forgotten ones, creatures I'd thought extinct after the fall. A lion with eyes like polished stone, a dove with feathers of smoke, a fox with no shadow. They came to her and did not leave. Eden remembered them, and in turn, it began to remember itself. I stood guard still, but each hour that passed made me wonder, who exactly was I protecting Eden from? Was it her, Or was it me? Before the curse, before the fire, before even the fruit, there was dust. She told me a story one night. Lilara sat beneath the fig tree, legs folded, voice low like a breeze through old stone. I remained above, but listened, drawn against my will. There was a dawn, she said, before the first dawn, a silence where light hovered but did not yet speak. In that silence, dust stirred. Dust has no memory, I said, curious despite myself. She smiled. That's what makes it perfect for creation. She spoke of Adam, not the one written in record, but the one molded in secret places. The shape before breath, the soul before self. She spoke of how even Eden waited with bated breath as the dust took form. How the birds went still, how the lion knelt, how even the river forgot how to flow. I had never heard this version, not in the heavenly scrolls, not in the whispers of the archangels. How do you know this? I asked. Her gaze drifted skyward. Because I watched him rise before I fell. My heart stopped. What are you? Her answer was simple. A witness. I descended, not to confront, to understand. It wasn't the sword that sealed Eden. It was the first tier, and who it belonged to. Lilara stood beside the river terrace, now just a thin silver thread weaving through broken reeds. Once, it had sung with glory, echoing the laughter of God's breath over the waters. Now, it murmured only of what was lost. Do you know who cried first? She asked. Eve? I guessed. No. I was silent. She turned. It was Eden. She explained. When they left, Eden broke, not in structure, but in spirit. It was never meant to be empty. It was not cursed. It was grieved. I too had mourned, in quiet ways, through flame, through silence, through standing watch while time itself forgot the song of paradise. But a garden? A place? Could it weep? She placed a hand in the river. The water turned momentarily clear. I was there, she whispered, when the last breath of paradise was exhaled, and it wasn't anger. It was sorrow. The wind howled low, the trees bowed, and for the first time, I let the sword fall to my side. Not in surrender, in reverence. Even divine fire, left too long alone, begins to question what it was lit for. The flaming sword had always been my certainty, my anchor in endless days of silence. It spoke when I could not. It burned when justice demanded it. But now, it flickered. It should have flared when Lilara stood near. Instead, it dimmed, almost ashamed. I approached the edge again. Lilara stood facing Eden, eyes closed, lips parted in a song too ancient for language. Her shadow stretched into the flame, and the flame did not recoil. Why doesn't it burn you? I asked, not out of accusation, but awe. She opened her eyes. Because it remembers me, she continued. Fire is not judgment, Uriel. Not always. Sometimes it's memory. A keeper, a warden of what once was holy. The sword, my sword, pulsed softly. A breath. A pause. I'd always thought the sword guarded Eden, but maybe, just maybe, it mourned Eden too. And Lilara? She wasn't an intruder. She was a whisper of the world before the wound. Before the fall, the serpent knew lullabies, not lies. Lilara told me of songs once sung by the serpent, not in deceit, but in delight, before corruption, before cunning, back when all creatures spoke in harmony, not hierarchy. I couldn't believe her at first. The serpent? The deceiver? But then she sang again. A low hum, curling like incense smoke. The animals drew near. The very grass leaned toward her voice, and I felt something impossible. Peace. Not peace like rest, but peace like returning. as if I had been away from myself and had just now found the way home. I fell to my knees and wept. Not for Eden, for me.